The blistering Arizona sun beat down without mercy on Chase as he stood alone in the vast emptiness of the Mojave Desert, his heart racing with a mixture of terror and raw anger. Just minutes earlier, his own grandparents had driven away, leaving him with only the clothes on his back, a small bottle of water, and the devastating words that he was no longer part of their family because he was gay. The dust from their old pickup truck still hung in the air like a cruel reminder of the betrayal that had just unfolded. Chase wiped sweat from his brow, his mind reeling as he tried to process what had happened. They had been on what his grandmother called a family healing trip to reconnect with nature and God in the desert landscapes of Arizona. Chase had finally mustered the courage to come out to them the night before, after years of hiding his true self, fearing their strict religious views. The dinner around a campfire had turned into a nightmare of accusations and Bible verses thrown at him like weapons. His grandfather, a man Chase had once admired for his stories of hard work and faith, had grabbed him by the arm and dragged him out of the vehicle at a remote pull-off point. "You bring shame to this family," his grandfather had shouted before pushing him toward the sand dunes. "We won't have an abomination riding with us." The car door slammed and they drove off without looking back. Now, as the reality set in, Chase felt his knees buckle, but he forced himself to stand. He could not let them win. He was 19 years old, and he had survived worse in his mind: the years of silent struggle with his identity, the bullying at school, the fear of losing everyone he loved. This was just another test, he told himself, though the heat made his thoughts fuzzy. He looked around the endless sea of sand and scrub brush stretched in every direction, with no roads or signs of life visible. The sun was high in the sky, probably around noon, and he knew he had to act fast to avoid dehydration. Chase remembered bits of survival knowledge from books and school trips. First, conserve energy, he thought. He started walking in what he hoped was the direction of the main highway. They had come from keeping the sun to his left to maintain orientation. His sneakers sank into the soft sand, with every step making progress slow and exhausting. Thirst already clawed at his throat, but he took only small sips from the water bottle, knowing it had to last. Memories flooded his mind as he trudged forward. He thought of his parents, who had died in a car accident when he was 12, leaving him in the care of these grandparents. They had raised him with love at first, but their views on morality were rigid. Chase had discovered his feelings for boys in high school, developing a secret crush on a classmate, but never acting on it until college, where he met Cameron, a kind sophomore studying environmental science. Their connection had been instant, filled with shared laughs, late-night talks, and a growing affection that Chase had kept hidden from his family. Now that secret had cost him everything. Hours passed, and the sun began its slow descent, but the heat remained oppressive. Chase's lips cracked, and his skin burned despite his efforts to cover up. He found a small cluster of rocks and huddled in their shade during the hottest part, resting his aching legs. Doubt crept in. What if he didn't make it? What if this was how it ended, alone and forgotten because of who he loved? But then a spark of defiance ignited. No, he would survive and one day show them that his life had value. As evening approached, Chase spotted what looked like distant lights, or was it a mirage? He pushed on, his determination growing with each painful step. Little did he know that this ordeal would be the beginning of a journey that would reshape his entire world and lead him to people who would see him for who he truly was. The night brought cooler air, but with it came new dangers. Coyotes howled in the distance, and Chase built a small fire using dry brush and a lighter he had in his backpack. He rationed the last of his water and tried to sleep, but nightmares of his grandparents' faces haunted him. By morning he was weak but resolute, walking again toward what he hoped was salvation. The desert seemed endless, yet in his heart Chase knew he had to keep moving for the sake of the future. He refused to let them take from him. As the second day dawned, Chase felt his strength fading, but the memory of Cameron's warm smile kept him going through the relentless terrain. He followed faint tire tracks that eventually led to an old dirt road where a lone hiker named Cameron, a 22-year-old park ranger on patrol, spotted the dehydrated young man stumbling forward. Cameron rushed to help, offering water and radioing for emergency assistance, his calm voice cutting through Chase's haze of exhaustion. "You're safe now," Cameron said, gently supporting Chase's weight as they waited for the rescue team. In the small hospital in the nearby town of Barstow, Chase recovered under medical care, his body battered but spirit unbroken. Cameron visited daily, bringing small comforts like fresh fruit and books, sharing stories of his own struggles, coming out to a conservative family in California. Their conversations flowed easily, revealing shared pain and quiet strength. Chase opened up about the abandonment, the words spilling out like a long-held secret. Cameron listened without judgment, his presence a balm to Chase's wounded soul. By the time Chase was discharged a week later, he had formed a deep bond with this stranger who felt like a lifeline. Cameron offered him a place to stay in his modest apartment in Los Angeles, while Chase figured out his next steps. The city lights of LA felt like a new beginning as Chase called distant relatives only to hear echoes of his grandparents' disapproval. Yet with Cameron by his side, the world seemed less hostile. They took short walks in local parks where Chase began to reclaim his sense of self, talking about his dreams of studying photography. Cameron encouraged him, sharing his passion for wildlife conservation and how it helped him navigate his identity. Tensions rose when Chase's grandparents tracked him down through a family friend demanding he return for counseling, but Chase refused, standing firm for the first time. The phone calls left him shaken, but Cameron's quiet support helped him process the anger, turning it into resolve. As weeks turned to months, their friendship blossomed into something deeper, marked by late-night talks and shared meals where laughter replaced the silence of betrayal. Chase started a part-time job at a camera store, his confidence growing with each sale and positive interaction. Cameron introduced him to a small circle of supportive friends, all navigating similar journeys of acceptance. Yet the scars remained, Chase often waking from dreams of endless sand, questioning if he could ever fully trust again. Cameron never pushed, only offered steady presence, reminding Chase that survival was not just about the desert, but about choosing life every day. The bond between them strengthened as they planned small adventures, exploring the coastlines and mountains that surrounded the city, building memories that healed old wounds. Chase felt a spark of hope that love could exist without conditions, and Cameron felt the same pull toward this resilient young man who had fought the desert and won. Months after the desert ordeal, Chase and Cameron sat on the balcony of their shared apartment, overlooking the twinkling lights of Los Angeles, their conversation turning to the future with a sense of possibility that Chase had not felt in years. The trauma of abandonment lingered in quiet moments, but daily routines with Cameron brought balance. They cooked simple meals together, watched documentaries on nature, and took evening drives along the Pacific Coast Highway, where the ocean breeze washed away lingering doubts. Chase enrolled in community college photography classes, his talent blossoming under mentors who saw potential in his raw, honest images of survival and resilience. Cameron continued his ranger work, but made time for weekend hikes where they talked openly about identity, societal pressures, and the families they left behind. One evening after a long day, Chase received a letter from his grandparents urging repentance and returned the words cutting deep, yet he chose not to reply, instead sharing it with Cameron, who helped him draft a response that affirmed his worth without anger. The act of writing, it felt like closure, a step toward reclaiming his narrative. Their relationship deepened naturally, with tender gestures like Cameron leaving notes of encouragement or Chase surprising him with printed photos of their outings. Prejudice surfaced when a coworker at the camera store made a derogatory remark about gay men, prompting Chase to speak up calmly, but firmly earning respect from others and strengthening his voice. Cameron faced his own challenges at work when a superior questioned his dedication after learning of his orientation, but he stood tall, modeling the courage Chase admired. Together they volunteered at an LGBTQ youth center, sharing stories that inspired young people facing similar rejections. The work filled Chase with purpose, showing him that his pain could become a bridge for others. As summer approached, they planned a trip to the California coast, promising moments of joy that would mark their growth. Chase felt the weight of the past lifting, replaced by gratitude for the man who had found him in the desert and helped him find himself. The days blended into a rhythm of healing, where misunderstandings were met with honest dialogue and small sacrifices like Cameron taking extra shifts to support Chase's studies built trust. Family pressure mounted when an uncle called offering conditional support, but Chase declined, choosing authenticity over approval. The decision brought peace, though nights still held echoes of isolation. Cameron remained his anchor, their connection a testament to chosen bonds stronger than blood. As they packed for the beach getaway, Chase reflected on how far he had come from that scorching sand to this place of light and love, realizing survival meant more than living, it meant thriving on his own terms. The California sun bathed the sandy shores in golden warmth as Chase and Cameron walked hand in hand along the beach, their laughter mingling with the sound of waves, a moment of pure joy that Chase had once believed impossible after the desert. This trip marked 6 months since the abandonment, and every step on the soft sand felt like a victory. They built sandcastles like children, shared ice cream cones, and watched the sunset paint the sky in hues of pink and orange. Cameron pulled Chase close, whispering words of affirmation that eased the last remnants of doubt. Back in LA, life settled into a supportive routine with Chase excelling in his classes and Cameron advancing in his conservation projects. Yet challenges tested them when a close friend of Chase's from college visited and questioned the speed of their bond, planting seeds of misunderstanding that led to a tense evening of honest conversation. Chase admitted his fears of abandonment while Cameron shared his past heartbreaks, the exchange bringing them closer rather than apart. Societal stares in public spaces still stung, but they faced them together attending pride events where the community embraced them fully. Chase began documenting their life through photos, a series he titled Resilience that captured raw emotions and quiet strengths. The work gained local attention, leading to a small gallery show where attendees connected with his story of survival and love. His grandparents sent another letter, this time with a hint of regret, but Chase replied with measured honesty, refusing to return until true acceptance was offered. The exchange left him emotionally drained, but Cameron organized a quiet night in with friends, providing the space to process. Their relationship grew through shared responsibilities like planning a move to a larger apartment and supporting each other's career goals. Chase sacrificed weekend shifts to help Cameron with a wildlife survey project, the teamwork reinforcing their partnership. Internal conflicts arose when Chase grappled with self-doubt about deserving happiness, but Cameron encouraged therapy sessions that helped unpack the trauma. The sessions revealed layers of internalized prejudice that Chase worked to release one insight at a time. As autumn arrived, they planned a mountain escape to Colorado, promising new landscapes and deeper connection. The anticipation built excitement, Chase feeling empowered by the choices that defined his path forward. Family ties strained further when his grandmother called crying, but Chase held his ground, explaining that love should not demand change. The call ended in silence, yet Chase felt stronger for voicing his truth. Cameron celebrated the moment with a special dinner, their bond a safe harbor amid the storms. The year drew to a close with reflections on growth, Chase recognizing that the desert had forged him into someone resilient and open to the beauty of authentic connections. The Rocky Mountains rose majestically around Chase and Cameron as they hiked the scenic trail, their hands intertwined, pausing at a breathtaking viewpoint, with a world spread out below in vibrant autumn colors, a scene of shared happiness that healed old wounds with every breath of crisp air. This Colorado getaway was a turning point, Chase feeling the weight of the past dissolve in the vastness of nature. They pitched a tent, shared stories around a campfire, and watched stars blanket the sky, discussing dreams for the future. Back home in LA, the momentum continued with Chase landing an internship at a prominent photo agency, his images of survival and romance resonating with editors. Cameron secured funding for an environmental initiative, the success bringing pride and stability to their life. Yet a misunderstanding surfaced when Chase spent long hours at the agency, leading Cameron to feel neglected. The resulting conversation revealing insecurities on both sides that they addressed with patience and compromise. Societal pressures mounted during a family holiday gathering with Cameron's relatives where subtle comments tested their resolve, but they navigated it with grace, emerging stronger. Chase began mentoring at the youth center, his experiences guiding others through identity crises, the role giving him purpose beyond his own healing. A pivotal choice came when his grandparents announced a visit to LA, Chase deciding to meet them in a neutral cafe, accompanied by Cameron for support. The reunion was tense with accusations and tears, but Chase spoke from the heart about the pain of abandonment and the strength found in self-acceptance. His grandparents left without resolution, yet the meeting planted seeds of doubt in their convictions. Chase sacrificed a promotion opportunity to prioritize his mental health, attending more therapy and couple sessions with Cameron that deepened their understanding. The winter months brought cozy nights and reflective walks where they discussed forgiveness not as obligation but as personal freedom. Chase chose to maintain limited contact with family on his terms, a decision that empowered him. Their bond faced external strain when a former friend betrayed Chase's confidence by leaking details to conservative online groups, the backlash prompting a united front of community support. Through it all, Cameron stood firm, his love unwavering. As spring bloomed, they planned a New York adventure, promising urban energy and new perspectives. Chase felt transformed, the boy left in the desert, now a man carving his path with courage and compassion. The growth was evident in small moments like advocating for LGBTQ rights at work or creating art that challenged stereotypes. Cameron, too, evolved, becoming more vocal about his experiences, the partnership a model of mutual uplift. The story of survival had evolved into one of thriving, their shared life a testament to resilience and the power of chosen family. Central Park glowed under warm sunlight as Chase and Cameron picnicked on a grassy knoll, laughing over shared memories, their connection vibrant amid the bustling city energy of New York, a joyful escape that solidified their commitment. The NYC trip was filled with museum visits, Broadway shows, and quiet moments on rooftops where they toasted to new beginnings with sparkling water. Chase captured the city through his lens, the images reflecting his inner peace. Returning to LA, they faced a major crisis when Chase's grandparents organized an intervention with extended family demanding he sever ties with Cameron. The confrontation escalated online and in person, but Chase stood firm, choosing his relationship over reconciliation on false terms. The sacrifice was heavy yet necessary, his decision marking a turning point in asserting boundaries. Cameron supported him fully, their communication open and honest through the turmoil. Professional successes followed, with Chase exhibiting his photography series in a gallery show that drew crowds and critical acclaim, the theme of survival and love inspiring many. Cameron expanded his conservation work to include educational programs for at-risk youth, the impact fulfilling and aligning with their values. Internal growth continued as Chase volunteered to speak at schools, sharing his story without bitterness, the act fostering empathy in young audiences. A betrayal from a colleague who spread rumors tested their trust, but they emerged closer after honest dialogue and renewed promises. The summer brought reflections on the desert ordeal, now a distant memory, transformed into fuel for advocacy. Chase and Cameron attended rallies and workshops, their presence a quiet force for change. Family dynamics shifted subtly when his grandmother sent a private note expressing regret, the gesture opening a door to cautious dialogue. Chase responded with measured hope, not expectation. Their life together blossomed with plans for a shared future, including travel, and perhaps adopting a pet, the ordinary joys feeling extraordinary after hardship. Challenges persisted in the form of societal prejudice, but they faced them as a team, their love a steady anchor. Chase felt complete, the journey from abandonment to acceptance, a narrative of strength he now owned fully. As the year progressed, they celebrated milestones with friends, the chosen family that had become their foundation. The emotional depth of their bond allowed for vulnerability and joy in equal measure. The city lights of Los Angeles twinkled below as Chase and Cameron stood on their balcony, reflecting on the path from desert isolation to shared strength, the conversation laced with gratitude and forward-looking hope. A surprise visit from Chase's grandparents brought tension, but also unexpected honesty, his grandfather admitting partial fault in the abandonment, the words a small but significant step. Chase listened without immediate forgiveness, choosing instead to share how the experience shaped his resilience and the importance of unconditional love. The meeting ended on neutral ground, planting potential for future healing. Cameron remained supportive, navigating his own family reconciliations in parallel. Work opportunities flourished, with Chase offered a full-time photographer position at a national magazine, his portfolio of emotional landscapes and human stories earning recognition. Cameron led a successful campaign to protect local habitats, the achievement celebrated with a community event. Misunderstandings arose over career demands, but they resolved them through weekly check-ins, strengthening their communication. Societal acceptance grew in their circles, yet broader challenges reminded them of ongoing fights for equality. Chase mentored more youth, his guidance rooted in personal truth, the impact rippling outward. A pivotal sacrifice came when Chase declined a lucrative out-of-state job to stay near Cameron and their established life, the choice affirming priorities. Their romance matured with deeper intimacy, built on trust and shared values. As holidays approached, they hosted friends, creating traditions of inclusion and warmth. Chase reflected on the boy left in the sand, now thriving, the contrast a source of quiet pride. Family ties evolved slowly, with occasional calls that lacked the brash hostility. The growth was internal too, Chase embracing his identity fully without apology. Cameron mirrored this evolution, their partnership a beacon of possibility. The climax of the year involved a public talk where Chase recounted his survival. The audience moved to reflection and action. The experience reinforced his purpose. Chase and Cameron sat together on the familiar beach, where their romance had deepened, the waves a soothing backdrop to the life they had built from the ashes of rejection. Years had passed since the desert, yet the lessons remained vivid, guiding every choice toward authenticity and compassion. Chase had become a respected voice in photography and advocacy. His work featured in exhibitions that challenged perceptions of family and identity. Cameron continued protecting the environment while mentoring the next generation, their joint efforts creating lasting impact. Family relations had softened with Chase's grandparents attending a small gathering where tentative acceptance replaced outright condemnation. The change hard-won but meaningful. Misunderstandings and betrayals had tested them, but each conflict forged stronger bonds through honest dialogue and mutual support. Chase no longer sought validation from the past, instead cherishing the chosen family that surrounded him. Their love stood as a testament to resilience, the kind that turns pain into purpose. As they watched the sunset, Chase turned to Cameron with a smile, knowing the journey had led to this place of peace and possibility. The decisions that defined his survival had reshaped not only his life but the lives of those he touched. True or false family bonds can only be defined by blood and never truly rebuilt after betrayal.